Oh, isn't that amazing? My mom just called me.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. What's she doing? I can't believe it. Oh,
But you hung up on
I
Mom.
just hung up on Mom. Hey, Mom. I could answer. Say, Mom, you call. Hold on.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hey, Mom. I can't talk right now. I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of something. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Oh, no, you
She's like,
poor
what's going
Mom.
on? Who's there? I'm like, not time.
She's
We'll
gonna
talk
be
later.
like,
And she's going to be forever
I
in the
know.
first episode of the new studio. So that's why I was like, I have to answer now. She'll always be part of it.
We have a special guest on
that
the
was-
show.
my mom
My
is calling
mom.
live.
Fuck, man, your syrup
Not
is so
bad, huh?
good. You should totally get into porn.
I told you, this is not a podcast. So I'm going to do this clap.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
now weird. I'm doing this for audio purposes. Chris is going to love me now. There we go.
I love weirdos. Do I have to do it too?
You could if you want.
Are we aligned?
Now we're aligned.
All right.
So Sandy,
Yes,
thank you for being here.
my pleasure.
So this is the first episode that's being recorded in this new studio, which is my house basically.
Beautiful studio.
Thank you very much. And I thought it was really, it's been on my mind because I've recorded other episodes. And it was totally on my mind to have you for the first one when it came to video.
Aw, that's
Yeah.
nice. I feel so
Oh,
honored.
I feel like,
Why
I'm
me?
feeling warm inside.
Yeah.
And it was basically because I said, I'd love to kind of kick this off with someone that is artistic, someone that, inevitably we can work and have fun with these ideas and this new concept. So like the whole idea that you've been working alongside me with Chris too, and just kind of putting all this stuff together about the release for this new episode on the studio. I just want to say thank you. I really
Oh my
appreciate
God,
it.
my pleasure. I'm super happy that you contacted me because I wanted to do something with you. When I saw you were doing the podcast, I was like, oh, it'd be super interesting to like get involved and stuff and like offer my artistic services.
Looking down.
Artistic services. Looking down. Stef, man.
Those palomos are hitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what it is. Like, I'm happy that you felt that same way because I remember I had it in the back of my mind. I said, okay, once I get video ready, that's when I really want to get like Sandy involved.
Yeah.
And we've known each other for
Quite a while now. I think
Yeah.
like probably 8 years.
something like that.
Yeah.
Easy. And it was always like every time we got together, always had a good time. We always had fun. We always partied hard together. And to me, it was kind of like, okay, once this thing is set up, let me contact her. And the reason why is because I always loved, I didn't know, like I always knew you did artwork, like, and you did that stuff. But then the last like few years, things really picked up.
They have because
So-
I moved.
Yeah, what you were saying before, I'm in the forest. I'm
I'm in
inspired.
the forest now. I have nothing else to do.
You're like, let me paint something.
Yeah.
And how did this, like, okay, let's talk about actually, what are you working on right now that you're really excited about?
Right now I'm actually just doing a few pieces. So I never just work on one thing at a
Okay.
time. I'll have commissions all the time. Well, they've picked up a lot since I moved actually because I have been painting more. I told myself, listen, I have to start posting more. And even if I post randomly about anything, my life, people are going to look at my stories and stuff. So
Yeah.
I've been getting more interest, more contracts that way. Because initially when I started, I was like super against social media. And
Why?
I'm like, because it's just not me. Like we grew up in the same, I mean, I'm older now.
I'm older.
I'm older, so it's not my the generation now depends on social media, whereas when I grew up, we didn't.
Yeah.
It was more like whatever.
Word of mouth.
Word
and
of
just,
mouth and stuff like that. But now everybody's promoting on social media, and I find it also distracting. So it's kind of like I have to create and stay away from social media and the distractions, but at the same time, I have to promote myself and be on social media all the time. So I'm torn between both, and I'm trying to push myself more to be active on social media. And it's been working, honestly, because even while I'm painting, sometimes I'll completely forget when I'm in my zone. I don't want to videotape myself, but people want to see the process.
Yeah.
So I started to kind of like keep my phone in the background sometimes, and I'll videotape myself painting, and then I'll post that, and I'll be getting a lot more interest, and a lot more clients like will contact me and be like, oh, I want a piece or whatever.
And do you find it like awkward? Did you find it like really awkward, like recording yourself, like knowing it was there?
100%.
I totally found it awkward. Like just
Yeah.
like putting more stuff and being more open on social media and kind of not giving a fuck.
That's the thing.
I used to think like everyone cared about, you know, like, or that people would make these comments. Then you realize no one gives a shit. There's so many other posts. Like
That's
you're
right.
lost in the mix.
100%.
And it was kind of like a feeling of freedom in a sense of like no one really cares. You're not that important, you know?
And
like
I had this thing also when I was in college because I studied illustration design.
Okay.
So we'll get to that later, I guess.
No.
So in class, I used to hate when people would watch me like paint, and the teachers would always just circulate and see what you're working on and stuff. And sometimes they just stand there and stare at you and watch you paint, and I get super uncomfortable and I just freeze. And they'd be like, "No, continue," and I'm like, "No, you're just killing it for me. Like you're ruining my zone. I'm
Get
in
out
the
of my
zone.
zone.
Yeah,
I just took some
because I
mush.
just
I'm
feel-
not down on this.
I was always sober in class. But I'd feel this presence and it would just like take me out of my zone, and it would just upset me, and I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't like create something in front of an audience. And I always wanted to do live painting and stuff, but I just never put myself there because I was just so nervous about people watching me or whatever. And then I started teaching painting classes.
Yeah.
And that actually completely changed everything for me. So we were just like, I teach very basic painting to anybody who doesn't have experience. And just by breaking it down step by step and showing the audience and like teaching them how to paint, I got so comfortable in front of people now. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, 100%. So now like I don't have that problem anymore. And even if I have the phone, first it was awkward because it's not a person, it's a phone.
Yeah. Well, that's the
So
weird part
what,
is like,
yeah, that's what made it super weird, because I was like, okay, at first I'd have a complete audience watching me, and now I just have this object, and I'm like, what the hell is this thing doing, you know? It's so bizarre, but I got used to it, and I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna create and keep it on when I want. When I want, not all the time. Sometimes I'll just forget to record, but
all the work
Yeah.
is done. You're like, I can't wait to see what this is.
Yeah,
And
it happens so
fuck.
many times where like I'll create something and I'll be like, fuck, man, I didn't get it on camera at all.
But the worst part is you thought it was on camera.
Yeah, no, not even
Oh.
I thought. I just completely forgot to record. So I was just like, oh man, I got into the zone. I did it and I finished, and I was like, it came out really nice. And then I was like, man, I didn't capture any of this, you
Fuck.
know, to post.
And,
But
I, you know, something that you said
Mm-hmm.
earlier was, you know, you kind of get lost in the balance. And I find same here. When I was starting to post for the podcast
Mm-hmm.
and like talking about it, whatever, it was like every time I would post something and then you'd see someone liked it or something, you kind of like, you're always checking your phone
yeah,
to see the reaction. Cause
Yeah.
it's like, okay, does this make sense? Does this make sense? And you think you're not going to be that way, but you are.
you are.
You
Everybody
are.
is.
Automatically. You can't help it.
No.
And then finally it was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if they like it. It's like, if I like it, put it out there.
Exactly. You should do it for yourself, right?
And then the other thing too, somebody had told me something, or I don't remember if somebody had told me this or if I read this, I don't remember anyways. But it was once you release something, whether it's art, music, writing, whatever it is, the moment you release it, you've made a decision that it's not yours anymore. And how someone reacts to it, it's their interpretation.
It's their interpretation, 100%.
Everything you thought about,
Yeah.
like the painting or about the song or whatever it is that you're working on, it's irrelevant at this point because, you know, someone hears a song that they really like, but they were going through a breakup. It's like, that's a breakup song for them now. Whereas you
Yeah.
had no intention of this being a breakup song whatsoever.
Exactly.
So-
And that's like art it's for the viewer to interpret, you know, their own way. So I can create something and it means something completely different for me, but somebody can see it and be like, oh, it means this for me, you know? So that's the thing with art. And then like, it's weird when you see people critiquing art because it's like, how do you know what was in the painter's mind when they did it, right?
I was recently, I was in Spain and I was at the Picasso Museum.
Yeah.
And they have like some amazing museums, whatever, in Madrid and all that stuff, as well as in Barcelona. And, you know, everyone is standing around looking at this piece of art. And there's always that one guy, and you can tell he's like explaining, and, you know, this means
Yeah,
this and this means that.
exactly. How do you
And
know?
I'm looking, and I remember I was like, do you know Picasso? Like, do
Maybe
you...
the guy just dropped LSD.
Yeah, he's looking at a wall. It's not even a fucking picture. And but he was like so detailed about and this and he wasn't talking about like technique, which I always found so amazing. Like when someone can look at something when they're designing or when they're creating art, and they have this blank canvas, and then they can see, and they could use their techniques that they've learned all this time, and they can build something from nothing.
Yeah.
And so maybe fuck Spain, whatever, but going back to you as being an art teacher, how do you take that and translate that to someone that is terrible?
Yeah, I break it down step by step, super simple terms. So what is actually interesting is that my full-time career is in fashion.
Yeah.
So in fashion, I deal with China on a daily basis. There's a language barrier, right? So my job is to receive packages from China, and I'll open it up and I approve like colors, I'll approve the artworks. If something is off, like I always base my artworks on the Pantone color. So everything has to be an exact duplicate of what we send out to like create, right? So if the colors are not matching, I'll tell them how to correct it.
Yeah.
And because there's a language barrier, I have to write my emails super simply so they understand. And I take that, and when I teach the classes, I do the exact same thing. So I break it down step by step so that people can understand it. So like I'll tell them, listen, we have to use the big brush for this. I'll teach them how to do the paint strokes, like if it's vertical paint strokes, the amount of pressure to apply on your paintbrush, how to mix the colors, how much paint to use. And it's really just technique. Like anybody can learn it. I believe anybody can learn it. People are like, no, you're born with it, but I don't think so. Like,
Well, no, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
it's like you can. I observe a lot more than like the regular person, I guess. Like I'm very observant, and I can like analyze shapes and this and that, whereas people don't pay attention to that. But I think that's what makes me more artistic than the average person.
Okay.
Like I'm more observant, but I feel like anybody can pick up the technique of how to paint.
And so when you started, did you have someone that helped you, or
Yes,
okay, you
100%.
had
School,
mentors or
basically.
teachers, and
Well, I started drawing as a kid, so I always used to watch cartoons. I'm still cartoon obsessed. I love
you're like, I
cartoons.
just finished a whole series this morning. I know every time we talk, it's always a cartoon. I notice, like it's always an animated series that we're talking about.
I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with cartoons. So when I was young, I used to watch cartoons, Bugs Bunny. I used to watch Garfield, and I used to sketch them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, while I was watching them, I used to watch the show and just try to draw the characters. And I got really good at drawing, but I knew nothing about color. I knew nothing about how to paint, how to mix colors. I did, when I was a kid, watch Bob Ross a few times.
There's always that one moment of Bob Ross, either as a
I
stoner or as an actual painter.
He's amazing.
Look
And
at
he's
this.
so
And then just-
relaxing.
I know
He's
it was
so
like
chill.
it was so chill that either you like
Everybody loved him. You
yeah,
can't hate him.
yeah. If you didn't like Bob Ross, you
Yeah.
had anger issues.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's something wrong with you.
100%. There's something wrong with you if you don't like Bob. He's so chill.
So okay, so you'd watch TV
So I
shows
used to
and
watch Bob Ross to try to paint as a child, but I was super young, so I was just like experimenting, mixing colors and doing like basic landscapes and stuff, but I still knew nothing about painting.
Okay.
And then when I was in college, I went into illustration design. So that's where they literally taught me everything. So it was a very, it's a 3-year career program, but you have to submit a portfolio in order for you to get picked. So they picked a selection of people, about like, I think 60 people per
Okay.
year, per whatever semester. And they picked me because they saw I had the ability to draw, but everything was black and white, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, because I never really experimented with colors or
How come?
knew how to mix.
Why didn't you experiment? Usually,
I don't know.
like colors,
I
the
was
brightness
just
of cartoons.
really into like sketching, like pencil sketching. I used to like sketch all the rock stars that I like, my favorite bands, and I used to sketch like Trent Reznor and like Korn back in the day in my high school days.
I would have loved you. I would have loved you back in high school. I couldn't. I was drawing stick people and just like logos of bands everywhere on
That's what I used to like. In high school, I would just be in class like sketching, and I did well in school, but sometimes I'd skip classes and just go to art class. And my art teacher loved me because I was the only one that was paying attention in art class. Nobody gave a
that
shit.
poor teacher at the art classes in high school. You're like, you could clearly tell no one gives a fuck. And then when you see that one student that cares, they're like, I love you. Thank you. You make my day worth it.
I cared so much. I used to skip classes and go see him and be like, Mr. Gorecki. His name was Mr. Gorecki. And I'd be like, can I like finish my art project, and like I finished my math work, so can you like give me a pass to skip my math class? And you'd be like, okay, Sandy, I'll do it.
You're like, just come.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm alone. I'm stuck.
I'm alone.
No one loves this class but you.
Yeah, I loved it. So I would always work on stuff there. And then when I submitted it for my portfolio to get into college, illustration design, they took me. And from there, like, they'll just throw a bunch of different classes at you. So we learned technical design, we learned animation, fine arts. So that's where you really learn how to paint, how to mix colors step by step. Like, you start monochromatic, which is like basically different shades of whatever color, let's say blue. So you'll have to create a canvas with just blues. And they teach you exactly how to draw figure form, like live models. We drew nude models.
How was that whole experience? Like,
as
you kept on breaking through,
it.
you know, like, because you started off with black and white, right? You
Yeah.
said sketches,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're introducing like a whole
And
new
I was
world of art.
completely lost because there's so many people that had a background
I was just about
in
to say
fine
that.
arts, and I was there, and they're like talking about thumbnails and how to mix these colors and using this kind of paint, and I was like, what the fuck is
Were you
going
overwhelmed?
on?
Like, did
I
it make you want to quit at a certain point? No?
It just made me want to push myself harder to like actually understand it and stuff. But some of the teachers also were like, the fine arts teachers were more abstract and like, you know, they had like an open mind way of thinking. And then there's other teachers that we had, let's say technical design, which had, you know, a very straightforward way of thinking. So
How did you manage that? Because I know I had the same experience when I was studying music.
yeah,
Where
yes, probably right.
It was, I had like great teachers that I felt allowed me to express myself. And then I had other teachers that when I tried to fully express myself, it actually was not
yeah.
a good experience with them. They were pissed actually. I had
Yeah,
failed a class
exactly.
on composition. I'll never forget because he was like, I don't like this piece. And then my response was, it's not for you to like, it's for you to just
Yeah.
tell me if I'm following the right, you know, theme or whatever it was, because it was like all this monotone stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And tonal music, I remember. And it was like all of a sudden he was so fucking like personal. He took it personal that I wasn't following him. That he failed me.
instructions,
Yeah,
right?
his instructions that he failed me. And I was like, man, isn't music supposed to be the opposite? It's like you're
Exactly.
supposed to give me a path, but not tell me how to take the path.
Yeah.
So did you feel like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The exact same experience happened to me in one class where he was an illustrator and he was teaching us really how to get your clients if somebody wants an illustration and stuff. So he gave us direction how to create a project, and he's like, this is what I want. These are the specific like guidelines to follow. So I did it, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit and I made it my own style. And he was just like, no, it's well done. But he's like, you didn't follow my instructions at all. And he failed me. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
You're like, why would you fail me? It's like,
I was super mad, but I was like, okay, I get the point that I didn't follow his instructions and stuff, but isn't art supposed to be like your own personal style?
yeah, you
kind of
take
thing?
it. You take ideas from someone.
You take ideas from somebody, but you want to create your own style, you know, your own version of it. But he didn't agree with that at all. But then years later, I saw that he went completely abstract. So he dropped out of like the...
He's like, fuck this, I'm done giving...
It was hilarious when I saw that, and I was like, oh, it was actually a liberating thing, because I was like, it must be so liberating for him to like,
Yeah, he was always...
just do his own thing, right?
Did you find at one point when you were in art school that they were turning you into something that you weren't? Or were they helping you become who you always...
I think they were helping us more,
because
yeah.
I felt I had an opposite
had the
experience. I felt
opposite
like it was
experience?
stopping me from...
Okay.
But there was also maybe my mindset too. That's why the reason why I asked you earlier if you
When
felt
you
overwhelmed.
studied music, did you study different types of music, or how was it?
I was in jazz. I was
Oh,
studying
okay.
jazz, and which was
So they
great.
were kind of probably pushing you to be in that, like, more in that direction.
And I was walking in like half metalhead, half hard rock. So
Yeah.
there was definitely a contrast in there. But I found that it was something that it was, I'd say it was a lot. The reason why I was asking the overwhelmed is because I felt overwhelmed at one point. And I remember I found that there were so many people way ahead of me. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced that, because I'd always been like one of the better
Yeah.
guitarists,
Yeah.
you know, and that I would be asked to play in all these bands and play all the shows, and was like, oh, Stef, come and play. And it was like, oh, you felt like a rock star. And all of a sudden I got there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like towards the bottom of the totem pole. So I had found that that was a kind of a humbling and a very overwhelming feeling. That's why, you know, I was wondering if you had that same feeling, but for you, it kind of did the opposite.
In school, it did the opposite because we had so many different fields. So I had this choice of like picking which direction I wanted to go to, whether it be like more animation or fine arts or anything technical. You know, I could do interior design, whatever. So that allowed me to branch out in whatever field I want or whatever direction I wanted to take. But at the beginning, when I first started, I felt like I was kind of like, oh
What
shit,
did I do?
you know, not what did I do, but more like, you know, I'm so not in the same league as everybody else because most people had this artistic background or they took art courses in the past and whatever. And I was just like, yo, I've been drawing cartoons. Like
I have a Garfield for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's John and Odie.
That was it. So I'm like, I don't have any background, but I learned, and it's honestly just practice, really.
Yeah.
With anything in life, right?
And then after college, or sorry, it was a 3-year program, right? You said?
Yeah.
So when you had finished that, was there like, what were your thoughts after that? Like, what am I gonna do? Or like someone came to you and started kind of approaching you? Like, what happened after that?
I kind of figured I wanted to start in fashion.
Okay. Why? Okay, so why fashion? Because of the design element of it?
Just the design element. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool. Fashion sounds cool. I had the opportunity, obviously, to go to university, but there was no career program like we did, you know, in Dawson. And it was more individual classes. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm ready to work.
Yeah.
So I started in fashion. And my first job was a denim company. And it was actually really creative. I think it was the most creative company I ever worked for.
They allowed you to kind of
they kind of allowed the artists to do whatever they want. I started as a graphic designer, so I was doing technical packages and the graphic design on the pieces. And because it was a denim company, you'd have like the denim made in China or wherever, imported, and then when it get to Montreal, he'd make us like distress the jeans. We would throw paint on them if we wanted. He had like a limited collection where we just like paint t-shirts and paint the jeans themselves and put like, you know, random things on it. So that was super creative, and I liked that job actually. And we were like a bunch of young designers. I actually worked with Sticky Peaches. I don't know if you know Sticky Peaches.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah. So he was there, and it was just like a really nice vibe. Like we had a good team, and that allowed me to express myself. And then I kind of like changed jobs a few times in fashion. Then I completely left it because it was like I need a break from it.
Yeah.
I went to Australia for a while.
Oh yeah.
Like 8 months.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When did you go to Australia?
2008.
Okay, yeah, we didn't know each other back then. So why Australia? So is that the surf pictures? Is that in Australia?
No. No, that was Costa Rica.
Okay, that was Costa Rica. Okay, because I remember seeing some surf pictures.
No, I don't think I have any. That was old, man. My Australia days are like Facebook days.
That's like when Facebook, even that was on its.
I went to Australia because my friend was there for a while. She was studying there in Adelaide. And I just kind of was fed up with fashion. I was like, I just want to fuck off for a while. So I figured I'd go there. I got a working holiday visa, and I went there, and I was like a beach bum for a solid like 8 months.
How was that whole experience of the beach bum? I've always had this feeling.
Nice.
I have this like torn two people in me. One person is one that always wants to like drive and be successful.
Yeah.
It's just
Me
there.
too. I have that. Yeah.
And then
there's another one that's just like,
I just want to get high on the beach and just
and
like
chill and enjoy life.
Yeah,
right?
like I want to open like a little thing on the beach and just like literally hang out on a beach all day.
Yeah.
Or just like whatever it is, just like calm life. Completely detached. And every time I go on vacation, I feel that person.
Feel that, right?
I feel like my avatar comes out, and then when I come back, it's like this battle.
Yeah.
It's a fucking battle, like of coming back into the mode of like North America and I guess whatever, like work and life, and then it's like you kind of forget about that beach bum.
Yeah.
They die for a bit, and then they come back.
That beach bum always lives
No, he's always there.
me.
He's always there. But it's like you kind of forget about it a bit, and then there's those
you
moments.
Have responsibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like life,
be an adult.
you know. But definitely, like, do you feel that that experience of that 8 months what did it do for you in terms of as an artist?
Oh, it inspired me 100% because also just what I like as an artist is traveling a lot. I love traveling just because I need to see the way other cultures live, the colors they use. Like, we live in Montreal, yo. It's so fucking gray all the time.
Oh my! And this year is just
It's so gray.
the summer's been
the
it's
summer's
next
been
level
really
shit.
rainy.
Yeah.
But like fall and winter, where the foliage falls off the trees and everything dies and everything's just bare.
And then the slush season.
The slush and the sky's always gray. The landscape's always gray. There's no color whatsoever. That's my downer period.
Yeah.
Like, I go inside, I cocoon, I try to create as much as I can. And then when summer comes, I'll either be outside as much as I can, or I take off. Like, I'll take off in winter as well. That's my favorite time to travel is in winter because I can't.
It gets long.
I can't.
It gets long here if you don't travel.
Super long. Like, January, February are the worst months. For me personally. Some people love winter, but it's not my thing.
Me neither.
So I need to see color. Like, it just, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So when the winter seasons come, I like to take off and like go somewhere tropical or somewhere where there's like beautiful, vibrant colors, and I'll see the other cultures and how they live and the artwork that influences them, and that I incorporate that into my artwork too. Like, everything influences me,
Well, I've seen the types of artwork that you've done. So it's like some of the posts are sketches, like I'd seen. So and then there was this one that made me laugh.
Drawings, probably, right?
I think so. Yeah. And then there was one that made me laugh. It looked like a Napoleon dog, like the soldier.
Those are just commissions though, that I get. Yeah.
So I just was like,
Napoleon.
how high was she?
That was actually my friend Patty. She has a little dog, and she came across something like that online, and she was like, "Oh my god, I would love if you did one for me."
Oh, when I saw it, I said, "Man, the mush hit hard."
No.
Because I just see you painting. I'm like, is he in a soldier outfit? So that was funny.
Yeah.
And then I saw the work that you had done for Mike. The whole like the Last Supper concept of all these dead rock stars.
Intimidating canvas
Why?
I've ever created.
Is it because you knew the person, or is it just how big the design was?
Not even that, because I hadn't painted people in the longest time.
Okay.
I painted people in college.
Okay.
And I got really good at it. It's the hardest thing to paint. As a painter, I find.
Why?
Because there's so many different
Details
under layers to the skin. It's not, you just don't go there. You don't go on a canvas and just paint one tone, one skin tone.
Okay.
There's a lot of layers. Painting is basically layers and layers, right?
Okay.
So you start with very thin layers, and then you just build up from there. And that's how you start seeing like all the nuances come through from underneath. And skin tones have so many different colors to it. So...
Paloma.
The Paloma.
The Romeo Jen is coming.
So there's so many different tones to skin, and you have to start with your base layers, your shadows, which are blues and purples, and then you build up from there. And there's like greens, there's yellows, there's oranges, there's reds, there's everything, right?
Okay.
So it's intimidating to do that. And
there's so many people on it. Like,
Yes,
to go
that's
choose,
it.
like, and they're all known faces.
Yes.
Every single face on that is literally very unique, that everyone knows and will tell instantly that it's Bowie, it's Elvis.
Oh my God, I'm happy you can recognize them right
Oh,
away.
yeah, instantly. Like, you'll look and, like, honestly, you knew it was Scott Weiland. Like,
Yeah.
that's Scott Weiland. That's Elvis. Like, you cannot fake it.
I think he was my favorite one.
Which one?
Scott Weiland that came. Yeah, I painted him, and I was like, oh my God, I love it. But I hadn't painted people for a really long time. So when I initially got the project from Mike, he was like, okay, this is what I want. And my initial my plan was to just kind of make a collage. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to initially print them out and just print them and stick them on and kind of do a street style, more abstract art around it. And then I said, you know what? Why are you going to like pussy out?
Yeah, I was going to say, was that kind of like you were like, I know this is going to be the safe way? Mm-hmm. And you were leaning on that?
Yeah, 100%. It was the safe way. And yeah, I was just nervous to paint people. So I was like, you know what? I hadn't done this in a long time. And I'm like, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to challenge myself. Yeah. It's not one person, it's 13 people, but I'm going to do it.
Fucking Mike, exaggerate. We got Last Supper.
Like the Last Supper.
And it's even an iconic like scene on plus, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like no one knows what the fuck that table means. The only person that wouldn't know is like a blind person. Is the only person that wouldn't recognize that long table.
That's it. So I photoshopped a rough thing and I said, you know what, let me do it. So I started one by one. And as soon as I got to the third, I was like, fuck it, I know how to paint
I'm
people
in.
again. Yeah, I'm in 100%. And it
How
took
long did that take?
a long time.
How long? Because I remember him talking
Mike
about
was
it.
so mad because the thing is, what I do also, which I have to stop doing. Actually, I did stop doing that. Is I'll start a project and then I'll be super into it and then I just abandon it for a while.
Why? Why do you think that
I
happens?
don't know why that happens, but that happens to a lot of artists. I think you get kind of fed up and you want to work on something completely different.
The analogy that I gave somebody
Yeah.
is that I love the concept of putting things together.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole idea of like you started the project and you're building it. And I kind of, the analogy was a door. It's like I built this whole room and now it's time to walk through that door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out by the patio. Like, I'm just fuck it. Like, I'm going to start another project. And
Right.
I've been notorious for doing this for so
too.
long that now I force myself that when I see that door and I'm ready and I know that I am definitely ready to just walk away and go start another project, I'm like, no, you have to finish this. You got to
Yeah.
walk through this fucking door.
Yeah.
Because this is the habit you have to break. It's not the question of the building process.
It is.
I can build. I have no issues on building. It's the sustaining.
Yeah.
Like, or kind of that finish it up. And that's why I think the running, like when we were talking earlier, that's been the breaker for me is like, you have to finish the kilometer. Like you
Yeah.
cannot cut it now.
Yeah, but that's actually helped me a lot too. So I train a lot and even yoga's like really helped me like clear my mind and focus on something, finish my tasks. The breathing exercises we do, it's really helped. So I only have one canvas now that's been laying around for a little while that I haven't finished, but I think in the meantime it's more because I've been getting a lot of commissions and paint events and like I've been quite busy for the
Oh, that's
last
good.
few months, which is great. Yeah, I'm happy about that, but now when I get commissions I like bang them out, you know.
Yeah.
So I have to, especially the holidays last year I was really busy and I was just taking commission after commission and people were like, "Do you have time to do this one?" And I was like, okay, 5 days left till Christmas. Let me bang it out. And I
Yeah.
did. I just like stayed home and I just focus, paint, paint, paint.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which was really good.
So now I wanted to jump into, like we're working on this project too on the side from this episode,
Yes.
working on the project of running shoes and
Yes.
sneakers.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool when I saw the first one. So maybe explain what it is that you do and at the same time, like how this came to be.
I do everything.
I do
now.
everything. Everything.
So I always try to express the thing with me as an artist.
As an artiste.
As an
I like
artist.
that you even fixed yourself up. Hold
it's
on.
just it's annoying because I do have to develop a style
Okay.
so people can recognize my work, right? But I'm always like, art shouldn't have rules. And I'm so experimental and I always like trying to paint on different surfaces and trying different techniques. So all of my art is very different. Like I'll take commissions sometimes from people that want very traditional things. And then sometimes I'll feel like, yo, I want to try abstract. So I'll just paint abstract for a little bit. And then sometimes I'll go back and do something more street art. So I really have like a wide variety of styles. And even surfaces now. I've been trying to experiment
I
on
saw that.
painting on different surfaces and like incorporating neon lights in my canvases sometimes. And now I'm looking to buy copper because I want to paint on copper.
Okay.
Copper sheets, copper panels. And then I was like, why don't I start customizing shoes? And I work in fashion. And I said, it'd be fun, you know? Why not? And I seen a bunch of like custom shoes and I follow the pages on Instagram and I'm like, it's so easy to do this. I could do this.
I could do. You're like, man, I'm painting fucking rock stars here. I'm fine.
Yes.
So how did there's the one that really caught my attention was the Prince one.
Yes, but before the Prince
Okay,
one,
sorry, go ahead.
I was experimenting like years ago also with painting on shoes. I had done a few pairs, like my friends and stuff like that asked for shoes, but I was always using acrylic paints. So
Okay, what's the difference?
there's a difference. If acrylic paints basically it kind of turns to plastic when it's dry,
Okay.
but it's not made for shoes. So I was painting on the shoes and stuff, and I noticed like it start to peel after
Crack,
some
yeah.
like wearing. So I was like, it's not the right paint to use. and, and then
My
recently I
bad.
was like, let me actually really research it and do it properly. So I researched it and I bought Angelus paint. So Angelus paints are basically meant to paint on leather.
Okay.
The thing is, the consistency is very transparent. So you have to do layers and layers of it. So you do
Okay.
one layer, make it dry, do another layer, and so on and so forth. But it sticks on the paint. It adheres very well to the leather. It sticks to the leather, not the paint. So that's it. Once the shoe is dry, you seal it and it's good to go. So I think it lasts about like 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're wearing it. Most people just like to display it. They don't
I was
really
gonna say,
yeah.
I'm sure there's people that will leverage it in certain moments, but
Yeah.
it's not like everyday running shoes or sneakers that you're gonna
No,
go out
that's
and
it.
start running in them.
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
No, it's an art piece. So a lot of people just like put it on display kind of thing and keep them. Or, you could wear them, obviously.
So you had said that years ago you did this,
Yeah.
and then you kind of got back into it. What made you get back into it?
I think just seeing them online and stuff, like a lot more people were getting into custom shoes, and I've been seeing like really cool ideas, and I was like, yo, let me start doing this again. Why not? And I painted a dress actually for one of my cousins because she
Okay.
has a clothing brand.
Okay.
So she had this sort of like pleather dress.
Okay.
So I painted like her logo on it and stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
it? What's the name of the company?
Je te love.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
you had also
she had
designed
an
a shoe for
event.
her as
yeah,
well.
she had a Formula One event, like a party at the Ritz or something. So she was like, I want my logo all over the dress so people see it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Yeah, so it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot.
And so no, it's really cool. And that's why when I saw the shoe, I was like, okay, we have to do something like
The Prince shoe, yeah.
The Prince shoe was just, I found it really cool. And you even what I liked about that one, I think in specific is, I think you had posted, that's when you were kind of starting to post a little more also on social
Yes.
media. And you were also showing like the build up to it.
Yeah,
and
I
kind
think
of,
that's what I'm gonna start doing more. Well, I have been doing more of, like, I did a few custom sneakers and I videotaped the process, so you'll see me like taking off the manufacturer finish of the shoe and then applying the paint, while transferring the image, applying the paint, and then finishing it. So people like to see the process. Yeah.
no. Oh, isn't that amazing? My mom just called me.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. What's she doing? I can't believe it. Oh, but
You hung up on Mom.
I just hung up on Mom. Hey, Mom. I could answer, say, Mom, you call. Hold on.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hey, Mom. I can't talk right now. I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of something. Okay. Bye. Bye. She's like, what's going on? Who's there? I'm like, not time. We'll
Gonna
talk
be
later.
like,
She's going to be forever in the first episode of the new studio. So that's why I was like, I have to answer now. She'll always be part of it.
we have a special guest
Yeah,
on the show.
my mom is calling live. So back to the shoe. Yeah, so the print shoe, how did that start though? Like, so someone called you and said, I want you to
It
design
was a
prints.
Christmas
Like,
gift, actually.
Okay.
So it was last year during the Christmas holidays. I was getting commission after commission, and that was as soon as she mentioned the idea. Janet, it was Janet's boyfriend, actually.
get out of here.
Yeah, it was Janet
Oh,
for her
shit.
boyfriends, because he's a huge Prince fan, and she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking of giving him a Christmas gift," and she was like, "I don't know what to get him, but he loves sneakers. He's a huge sneakerhead, and he has a ton of them, and he collects them." So she was like, his favorite artist is Prince. Would you want to customize a shoe? And I'm like, fuck yes.
It's like already it's a cool idea,
Yes.
and then make it prints. It makes it
Yeah,
even cooler.
Exactly. So I'm like, bring it on. I did a rough like sketch or Photoshop, send it to her, and she was like, okay, do it, go do whatever you want. And I loved it. It was such a good project. I loved working on it. I was super into it.
No, it's so cool. That's why when I was thinking of like putting together this idea, the launch and the
Yeah.
contest, I was like, this idea I feel would be so fun. One, it'd be working with you. That's fun already. Two, it was yeah, no, it's fun. Like always every time we hang out, it's always a good
We
time.
always party.
We always
Well, we used to party a lot. Now I'm good.
yeah. Now you're like, I'm living
Now I live in the
I'm
forest.
In the forest, I'm just painting canvases. I'm with the dog. I have to take care of this dog. But and but that's why when I saw like this, I was like, okay, we have to do something. We have to do something because I think it's such a cool idea that even also for you, kind of marrying the two worlds of kind of fashion, you're finally kind of marrying the two passions,
Yeah,
I guess.
I am.
Is that apparel, fashion, and then mixing with art and doing something that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
where everyone has their own individual shoe. Like no one can get this again. So did you feel that that's what kind of made it special? Is that it's really something unique
Yes,
for people, and
definitely.
that's what they really enjoyed about it, or was it the just the art? Like, what do you think is kind of the reactions from people when you're?
I think it's also the fact that it's incorporating fashion, because the people that are sneakerheads are huge sneakerheads.
Yeah.
And when they see a unique piece, like you can buy a unique whatever Nike shoe that comes out, but if it's something that's like just one piece that's yours, you know?
No one can have that.
Yeah,
Like,
no one can have it. So I think that's what makes people excited. And also, you can customize it the way you want. So if they have a favorite artist or theme or whatever, you know, you can make your shoe your own.
yeah, I know it's really cool. I love that, and that was kind of like where it triggered the idea. Okay, we have to do something
Yeah.
here. So now you're working on shoes. What else are you working on right now?
Canvases. I have another commission now that I'm working on for another dog portrait.
Sir.
I know. I've been getting, there's so many pet portraits. People love their pets so much.
It's
And I
crazy.
get so many requests of like pet portraits. It's insane.
That's where do you okay question I want to know is after you painted, do you ever go to the house and see where it is?
No, but I asked them to like send me
Send me
pictures
okay
sometimes. So
because
like,
I'd
they
wonder
will.
where this is going to be
Yeah,
placed
but
in the house.
It's in, they love it. They love, I
That's
think
amazing.
people like their pets more than like their family.
100%, 100%. I guarantee you, people will look at their dog and be like, "I like you so much more than my kid."
Well, it's the unconditional love.
Yeah,
They
you
give.
walk inside and they're like, "I'm happy to see you every time." It's like no one looks at you that way outside of a dog.
But it's really fun to paint animals. I always love painting animals or drawing, sketching, whatever. But the fur process and the layers, it's easy because you could mess up.
Yeah, and it's not as
And
and you
it's-
can fix it up and
Yes,
touch it up.
exactly. And like fur is fur, right? So it doesn't matter if my nose is crooked on a person,
Yeah.
like it's gonna show,
If you-
or like whatever. But fur is just fur. So and it actually helps me, just the layers of building the fur and the colors actually helps me paint people as well.
Why? How's that?
It's different, but just understanding the layers and how the light hits it, and like the different colors and the different tones actually helps me with skin tones. It's weird, like it's so bizarre, but even when I'm teaching my simple painting classes, like just practicing and painting and building the layers helps me paint like really hard pieces.
I was gonna say like when you get into like a funk, like you were saying, like let's say that element of where you were second guessing yourself about drawing people again or painting people. What have been some of those challenges like that you felt during this whole process, like
you
as you're
know
growing
what?
as an artist? Like what were some of the biggest?
Artist block. It's a
Like what?
huge
What do you mean? Like just in general, like
Yeah, just not knowing what to create. Sometimes I'll be sitting in front of a canvas, and the idea of like, I also have this perfection mentality where it has to be perfect in my mind, or whatever, but nothing's perfect in life. So when you're facing a blank canvas, I'm like, sometimes I don't have an idea, and like, what am I painting next, or where do I even begin? And I went through a huge period of like artist block where I didn't know what to create next, because there's so many also outside influences, right? So you're looking at stuff all the time online, and you're like, oh my god, like this is really cool, and that's really cool, and this
Yeah.
style, and that's a street art, and then portraits, and this and that.
you kind of get sucked into so many different things and you don't do
Exactly.
anything.
And I'm like, where do I start? What do I create? What's cool? What's original? But you just have to create, no matter what it is.
How did you get out of that block?
You just create.
Okay, you just
No
like
matter what.
fucking.
Even if it's like the shittiest thing, sketching like a flower, a cat, anything. Just the process of creating and letting it out, it starts to flow afterwards,
Was there ever a moment where you just said maybe fuck art?
You know what? No.
No?
It's always been my outlet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I use
That's
it
good
as,
because at one point I was like I fucking hated music.
Really?
I didn't want anything to do with music. Like
Aw,
and it's
that's
like so sad. I was just like I guess I looked at it from because I had put in my mind so much pressure on accomplishing certain things in my mind for music that when it didn't happen, I was like, we need to break up, and we need to break up. Like I don't even want to talk to you. We need to see other people. We need to see like just move different countries, whatever it was, like just complete distance.
Did you ever get artist block though?
Oh my god, big time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like an artist block. It's like I felt like I couldn't even put two chords together anymore.
That's crazy. When that hits you, and then you get into, then that's that fucks you up mentally.
It
Once you're
was.
there, you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? And then you put pressure on yourself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why
it's
the
the
reason why I was
worst.
asking, I found it was like a hangover, like a hangover I could not get over. The worst feeling of just not being able to put really a song together anymore that I enjoyed, or
Yeah.
creating something that I enjoyed. And then from there, it was kind of like I didn't even enjoy playing anymore.
Okay.
Like even picking it up, I would be like, I'd be, this is not gonna
Oh,
work.
no.
So that's why I was asking if you ever had a period like that where you're just like,
Maybe never a period where I want to drop art altogether, but sometimes I'll get commissions that I'll do them, but sometimes they're just boring as fuck, like family portraits or whatever, are not really my thing, but I'll do it. Sometimes I enjoy it, but sometimes I'm just like, ugh, like I have an idea of what I want to paint, like something completely different on my own, and like, oh, I feel like working on this, but I have a commission to do, and it's a family portrait, so I'm just like,
yeah.
it's boring.
Have you learned to kind of like separate the two? Because I found what I had a hard time with is, I remember when I would be younger and someone would say, oh, well, why don't you play, even in a band that just plays covers or whatever it is. And I was like, no, if it's not exactly what I want, I don't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of start coming to terms with like, yeah, but that helps, let's say,
Exactly.
pay for this.
Yeah.
And that allows me now to like make
Yeah.
more music doing whatever it is that I want. Do you feel like you're better at balancing that now?
Yeah, I am definitely like I also want to give something that makes people happy.
Exactly.
So the whole point of art for me is to release something. It's my outlet, and that's how I express myself. And also just giving it to somebody to make them happy is like the best feeling.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're doing something right. And even teaching the painting class is the same thing. Like people come in and they're like, I can't do this, and I've never painted in my life, and just seeing them create something and leaving like super happy and excited makes me so happy.
I know that was one of the things I noticed when I used to teach music.
Yeah.
I had like an old student of mine on one of the past episodes, and like now he's a producer. Like he's killing it. Like in the city, he's doing a bunch of stuff. But I remember when he would walk into the room and he came in every week and he would learn, and you saw him progress. And man, that was such a good feeling.
100%.
Like that, like seeing someone
That's when you know you're on the right path, right?
yeah, something was going right with him.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so you've been doing a bunch of stuff. You're getting commissions. What do you see as? Do you have ideas of like projects for the future, like something that you'd love to be involved with?
I need to paint on copper
I
panels.
was say I need to paint on people.
Yeah, I could do that too.
It could get interesting, yeah.
But no, I have a few different like I don't know techniques that I want to experiment more on like different surfaces, and I maybe want to get into street art a little bit more, like maybe doing some wall pastes and stuff.
Okay.
I haven't ever touched on that, but I feel like it'd be fun to go out in the city and start like pasting stuff on walls and shit.
I have a friend that she was the. I can't remember if she was the art director. Anyway, she was she had helped organize, definitely, for sure. I can't remember the exact position, but we used to work together for the Mural Fest.
Oh, amazing!
And this is years ago. Like I remember when Mural Fest was kind of like, I think it was on year 2 or year 3 of the fest, something like that. And we were working together for campaigns when I was at CTV, and I was helping them really push like on more of a mass media tool to try to get more people aware of it. And it was such a great festival. Like just the whole concept of it, the way it takes over the city.
Yeah.
And it just like completely dominates.
I'm so happy that like that actually happens in Montreal now.
I know, it's such a nice part of the like the summertime.
Yeah.
When that festival comes up, it's one of the nicest festivals in the city. It's grown at a level that is just like
huge level. Like
it's crazy.
Fucking obey to come down and paint a mural.
Yeah.
I'm wearing his sweater today.
But it's so true. It's like I remember when it was at the beginning of it, like we were looking at these small budgets and like these things trying. I remember I was like, let me see what I could do to really get them to explode as much as possible, or what I can be part of, like this explosion. And it's just seeing it now years later. So it'd be amazing if one day, like. I'll put you in contact with her. Yeah, like I'll put you. I'll let her know. It's like, look, someone go. I don't know if she could help or whatever, but at least maybe she give you the tips of like what to do to prep for it. But it's definitely like that would be amazing one day.
You have to be a well-known artist to do that. Well-known
Definitely,
muralist.
or at least maybe working to help with. Sometimes like I've noticed that like the well-known artists will have like the people there and helping to build it, because it's not just one guy alone doing this or one girl alone.
It's a team.
Exactly. So who knows? Maybe they need people. So I'll reach out to her and I'll ask if.
I'd love that.
But that's cool. So looking at really expanding. And what about like just on your side, something that if you had to talk to an artist, or if you had to talk to yourself right now and kind of go back and look at from where you started to now, what's something that you would maybe tell yourself? Or some advice that you would give to yourself?
More like just create for the pleasure, just for myself. Whereas before I would create to be like, oh, I need to be well known, or I need to do this for the people. And it's really about yourself and just like creating to allow yourself to be happy and, just have an outlet. And it actually just eases the mind too. Like it gets rid of like all the noise, the distractions of like my life. When I'm like focusing on creating art, I'm just there. I'm in my zone. I'm, not paying attention to anything else. And it's just super therapeutic. So just, continue doing that, obviously.
That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm super happy. And honestly, again, Tandy, like so happy that you came here today.
You
drove from your forest, your enchanted forest.
Oh man!
you brought like a cool vibe.
Any chance I get to come to Montreal, I take it,
like,
man.
You're like, where is it, Montreal? I'm coming. I'm already in the car.
Where are you, Montreal? I'm coming.
Do you have something to drink? Okay, I'm coming. But no, honestly, it's been super fun doing this episode here with you today.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm happy that you got to experience my mom interrupting our conversation.
The poor woman's like, what
She's like,
happening?
I have something important to tell you. Bye. Hang on. But
you have to call her right away.
I'm gonna
Imagine
call her,
she has something important to say.
She's like, I'm at the hospital.
No.
No, I know. I know my mom. My mom only calls me when there's nothing to actually talk about. If it was important, I find out like a week later. She's like, oh, by the way, your dad fell down the stairs. Like, what? Why didn't you tell me this shit?
Are you serious?
I'm not joking. It's literally that. She calls me to talk about nothing. And then all of a sudden when it's like serious stuff, nothing. I have no clue what's going on. Nice. So thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah. And
I'm super happy I was the first guest on your video show.
Now. That's it.
Yay!
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.